Hey, welcome into the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, joined today by my co-host, Lando. You can get him at Lando_FF on Twitter. You can get myself at MTOW23. Week 9 waivers. Here we are halfway through the fantasy season. If you are one of those teams that are 2-6, 3-5, you think that your season is over. It's not. Now's the time to make a couple trades with your deadline coming up in week 10 and making the right waiver wire moves now so that you get the players that you need to get a couple wins, string a couple together, and you're right back in the mix. Most teams get in that last couple spot in the playoffs at about a 500 record, so keep that in mind. You can run the table and you can get this done. I've seen lots of teams get in with 6-7, 7-6 in the past. You can do it. Lando, who are you eyeing up in week 9 for waivers? Who are you putting your money on this week?
Mac, this is a tough week. The running back position is a little bit sketchy, so I'm going to focus on the wide receiver spot this week. There's a few really good ones. Most of them are available on your waiver wire right now. My number one priority for the wide receiver position is actually going to be Allan Lazard. He's 34% owned. Mac just brought him up off camera, and I had almost forgot about him. Probably a lot of your guys. A
lot of people did.
Yeah, probably your league mates also forgot about him. So he's just coming off IR. He should be owned in all formats. It should be exciting, man. I'm excited for Allan Lazard to be healthy and be Aaron Rodgers' number 2 target.
Yeah, absolutely. At the wide receiver position this week, I'm going to go to a guy that I think you can get for next to nothing, but I think could be quite valuable given the current status of this team. George Kittle, down with an injury. He's out for likely 8 weeks, fracture in his ankle. MRI was not good on second look. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to miss time too. Factor in all the other injuries with this team with Deebo Samuel out and Raheem Mostert out. They're going to need guys to step up and be playmakers, and one of those guys is Kendrick Bourne. I think you can spend like a handful of fab, like upwards of 3 to 5% going in strong to get Kendrick Bourne. He's coming off an 10-target week last week, 8 receptions for 81 yards. He also had a week 3 matchup where Nick Mullins was the quarterback. He had 4 receptions, 6 targets in that game for 61 yards. I like Kendrick Bourne. He's got upside. He can be used in the backfield, kind of like we're seeing Ayuk get the ball, how Deebo does. Kendrick Bourne is no exception to that. He is fast. He's a big boy. He can run. So I like Kendrick Bourne at the wide receiver position for a nice little stash in the next couple weeks.
Other guys that are spot starts that should be added, I'm talking Mike Davis. He had 99 yards and a touchdown this past week. Mike Williams.
Mike Davis, yeah.
Mike Williams should be owned, and Corey Davis. I mixed those two guys up together. Corey Davis had 128 yards and a touchdown this past week. Both can be spot starts. Both are started on your rosters. Check to see if Christian Kirk is available. He's 59% owned. He might have been dropped because they were on bye, but Christian Kirk is in an offense led by Kyler Murray. You want his pass catchers, and he's healthy now, so you should probably add Christian Kirk on your roster. 2 other guys I'll mention before we keep going: Sterling Shepard and Marvin Jones Jr. They're all owned in about half of leagues. Again, they're going to be spot starts. They're not going to be locked and loaded. You kind of have to start them in a good matchup. But if Kenny Golladay misses time, Marvin Jones Jr. should be added, and he could be the number 1 receiver for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, absolutely. DJ Dallas is a name that if you didn't grab him last week with the prospect of Carson, Hyde, Homer all being out, you might have a chance. Landon, if you could pull up really quick his ownership percentage in Yahoo, that'd be great. I didn't get a chance to look at it currently. I know last week it was down in the single digits. So DJ Dallas in most 12 to 14 team leagues is probably going to be pretty highly owned, but shorter than that, I think it could be a good play moving forward if any of those guys miss time. 25%. So, I mean, we saw the pass catching chops of DJ Dallas. We saw what he could do on the ground. Given that the other options were out, he was a guy that was heavily relied upon. And I know that Seattle wants to pound the ball on the ground, and that's part of the Pete Carroll philosophy, and they'll do that regardless of who it is. So DJ Dallas, you might have to pay up for it, and I'm not really sure that the price is worth it. But if you can get him for under 10% of your fab at this point, that could be a nice little stash. You brought up Mike Davis, Landon, by accident, but I think it's worth talking about. Those that own Mike Davis right now, what are you looking to do? Because people are projecting that CMC does come back this week. A player that's going to be brought up in a lot of leagues this week is Jordan Wilkins, the third-year running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Him and Nyheim Hines just seemingly took over this game, and Jonathan Taylor had 11 carries, got 3 balls through the air, so 14 touches. It wasn't the output that we all thought Jonathan Taylor would see this week in a really plus matchup against a pretty poor Detroit Lions run defense, but came out after the game in an interview with Phillip Rivers that Jonathan Taylor is not 100% healthy. He's a little bit banged up. He's dealing with an ankle injury. This Indy line, when looking at Pro Football Focus, they are right now 28th worst offensive line in football in terms of adjusted line yards, 25th in power success, and 23rd in second level and open field blocking. What we saw from Jonathan Taylor last week is on power run schemes, when he got to the second level, he had no blocking downfield, whereas Jordan Wilkins touching the ball, he's getting the ball on the edge, he's getting the proper blocking, he was able to waltz the ball into the end zone, into gaps in the space. So going up against the Ravens this week, who are the second best team against the run and the second highest blitzing team in the league, I don't think that Jordan Wilkins or Nyheim Hines will have a ton of success. I'm staying away from this backfield, and I'm not wasting any money on Jordan Wilkins because I do still believe that Jonathan Taylor will be the future of this team and this backfield for the rest of the season. And giving a little bit of future foreshadowing here, Jonathan Taylor's still a guy that I am looking to buy now extremely low on for the rest of the season, and you can see him in our trade content later this week.
Another guy that I should mention before you keep going, Philip Lindsay is owned in about 65% of leagues, so he's probably right around that threshold where it's hard to say if he's available in your league watching, but he played really well. He outplayed Melvin Gordon. He had a 13.8 yards per carry this past week, and that's unsustainable, but we've seen him used in all facets of the game. They play Atlanta this week, then Vegas, Miami. The schedule is good for Denver, and just go check and see. I would spend decent priority or decent fab if you're desperate this week on Philip Lindsay, because he'll be a good spot start. Mac, I need to talk to you about Zach Moss. What do you do with a guy like Zach Moss? Devin Singletary actually had a pretty good game on the ground, just didn't get into the end zone, but Zach Moss is getting a lot of those high value carries and targets. What do you do with the backfield in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think this is a really good time to move on from Devin Singletary. I haven't been very impressed with what I've seen Buffalo do on the ground in terms of rushing attempts, whether it be Singletary or Moss. But you are right. Zach Moss is siphoning away some of those high fantasy value touches around the goal line in the red zone. I'm not really looking to have either back. If I had Zach Moss, I was a Zach Moss owner, I would happily hold on to him. But if I'm a Devin Singletary owner, I might be looking to capitalize on what seems to be a decent game. But when it comes down to it, Buffalo just has not been running the ball outside of Josh Allen. You see him call his number at the goal line. Devin Singletary has not been called on to punch the ball into the end zone. And so I'm trying to get out from Devin Singletary. If Zach Moss is there, I mean, maybe try to waiver him. I'm not very hopeful for this Buffalo Bills running game at the moment.
Damian Harris is the last running back I have to bring up today. like I said, it's not a great running back class or week 9 waivers, but he had over 100 yards on the ground. It's going to be okay, but what we know about New England is it's an inconsistent running back room. It's going to be a hot hand approach. Rex Burkhead, James White, Damian Harris. It's a carousel of running backs, and then Cam Newton's going to take a lot of red zone work. So they have a great matchup against the Jets, and they play Houston again, Miami, Buffalo. It's okay for this New England team, but Damian Harris is a guy, again, in the spot start. He might get 10 to 15 attempts. I wouldn't expect 100 yards on the ground, but he's at least going to get some work. So a couple dollars of fab on him, again, if you're desperate.
And I think desperate is a good word, because what we've seen out of a Bill Belichick-led offense is that it's never a primary back that gets the entire workload. It is a shared backfield, running back by committee. Rex Burkhead will still be involved. Damian Harris is going to be sprinkled in. James White will get passing work. It's never just one guy. Damian Harris, I don't buy into this performance, although it was good by his standards. It's not something I see that will be consistent for you long term. Nothing that you can rely on, and I'm not going to be trying to roster Damian Harris. I've gone down this road in the past with the New England Patriots, and it never works out well for me. But at the tight end position, Landon, we had George Kittle go down. He's out, like we said earlier, for about 8 weeks. I'm looking for Kendrick Bourne to step up in this offense in the absence of Deebo Samuel. Between Jordan Reed, who's healthy seemingly, and Ross Dwelley, who are you looking to spend some fab on, if any, between the two?
So if you go on your app right now, it might show that Jordan Reed is on IR, but he was looking to actually come back this past week. He was just held out one more game. I think he could have played. So we've seen Jordan Reed be electric when George Kittle is out. With that being said, I'm gonna just add Ross Dwelley if I can. I'm gonna add him, and hopefully, I don't know if Reed is fully healthy yet. So if I have to make this decision right now, not knowing if Reed's gonna play, I'm just gonna add Dwelley because I know he's gonna play.
And for me at the tight end position, I'm going to try and take the position or the player in the position that has the most upside, and I do believe that's Jordan Reed. He is a little bit old and busted compared to his old self, but the rule used to be, Rule 86, if Jordan Reed is healthy, you play him. This year so far, 2 games without George Kittle when he was healthy, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 50 yards, and 2 scores in week 2. And then with the Nick Mullins-led offense in week 3, had 6 targets for 23 yards. Nothing great, but he has that upside that you want at the tight end position. And Nick Mullins is no stranger to targeting the tight end position. They could roll both of them. Who knows? But I'm willing to take a shot on Jordan Reed if I'm a George Kittle owner that I've lost him. And then you've got other people on bye this week. So Jordan Reed, I'd throw a couple dollars on him. He probably won't go for as much as he should, being that he is coming off of IR.
One guy you should look at, he's on bye this week, and if you don't need him, that's great. That's Dallas Goedert. He's 62% owned. I would consider spending some decent fab on him if you do not need him this week. When he's fully healthy, back in the offense, he's a top 5, no question top 10, top 5 potential tight end option, especially now that George Kittle's out. He's definitely in that conversation. So look at Dallas Goedert, see if he's available in your league. And he could be a league-winning tight end. It's not saying a lot if he's available and on your team. And
don't forget that Zach Ertz is going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks, so that does leave a lot of room for Dallas Goedert to work and be very relevant for fantasy purposes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Waivers, get them, win them. These could be the pieces that make the difference for you. A shout out to our supporting sponsor, Manscaped. If you want some beautiful discounts on some great engineered products for your family jewels, go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code SNAP20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Some great holiday options there for you for Christmas. Get something for dad, for your brother, for your best friend. Hook them up. And get us on fantasy, or get us on social media at @snap_fantasy. hit us up in the DMs. We are happy to look at your individual teams and get back to you as soon as possible. Go win your waivers this week. Win this matchup. Stay in it. And we'll see you guys throughout the week. Have a good one.